All right. About to say, waiting on you. And we are live here on Hot Tag Takes on HamiltonRadio.net, channel HR2. Ruben almost killed me with that mic. My ears almost started bleeding. You could start hearing your own reflection. I didn't even know that was...
That's how good I am. I don't even see your own reflection in everybody. I can hear your reflection.
I didn't even know that was a thing before I said it just now.
It actually isn't, but
like I can see mine in his head from this window with his sweaty, bald-headed self, and now I can hear it.
At least you didn't say sweaty balls. You just said sweaty balls.
I said bald head, Ruben. B-A-L-D, not B-A-L-L-S. Come on, man.
He can spell.
Barely. But we are live here on Hot Tag Takes on HamiltonRadio.net, channel HR2. Once again, I am your host, John BRECKO. Shout out to Juice WRLD, who is already active in the chat. What's up, brother? How are you? Big shout out to you. And we have got a lot to talk about. So there was a time for about 7-8 months, and hopefully this is starting again soon, that I used to have a sports show called Big Boy Sports on Can You Dig Sports Radio. Jaleel Lewis, the real Leo, he came on the show at one point when he was running that station, and we had a great time talking sports. The guy can talk as many sports as you want for days on end, super knowledgeable, really knows his stuff, can go with you blow for blow on any topic. I love talking to him about sports. It's one of the easiest people I have, I'm able to talk about sports with. But we are going to talk about a little bit of wrestling today, as this show is titled Night of Chompions, just because I'm fat and my producer's an asshole. There's no other reason for it. But the guest that I am having on the show here is somebody that's going to be hosting a show, not with me, but will host a fellow show on Can You Dig Sports Radio when it does come back. And I'm very excited to have this man on. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for a fellow wrestling fan, a fellow WWE fan, fellow AEW fan. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Denzel of Can You Dig Sports, baby!
Thanks for the intro.
Yeah, buddy. Hopefully Ruben doesn't make me hear the echo of everything he says. No, but how you doing, man? How you living? I have been very excited to talk to you ever since the orientation over the past week. You are a fan of WWE, AEW, and you followed our show back when it was going on with me and Darren Silver. And I'm very excited to talk to you about the station, about wrestling, even about sports if you like. So I think where I'm going to start with the show today is how you became a wrestling fan and why you wanted to do a wrestling show on Can You Dig Sports Radio. Because I know you want to talk about your AEW, and I'm not mad at you for it.
First and foremost, thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah.
And I became a wrestling fan like around 7 or 8 years old. Me and my brothers sitting in front of the big screen TVs, how big they were back in the day.
Yeah.
Watching Monday Night Raw on Spike TV.
Okay.
Watching Friday Night SmackDown on UPN every Friday.
Yep.
So, it was on Thursday, but
I remember.
It switched to Fridays. But anyways, we became fans in the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
And from there on now, we had the Ruthless Aggression Era.
Oh, yeah.
Then we had the PG Era.
Yep.
Now we're in the TKO era, I like to call it.
It is the TKO era, but I almost kind of look at it as a golden era for just wrestling in general, because you have so much that you can go to. You have talented superstars in WWE, AEW. Hell, even TNA is its own thing, even though they work with WWE, and you see NXT talent go there very often. Hell, Trick Williams is even holding the TNA World title right now. One of these days, a TNA guy is going to hold the NXT Championship. We just thought it was going to be Joe Henry at one point, and it just hasn't happened yet. And there's so many different places and avenues you can go to right now for great wrestling. And, you know, it's a boom period, in my opinion, like we've never seen. And you look at all the different people that are going into the mainstream, the John Cena's of the world, you know, the CM Punk's even a little bit of the world. Seth Rollins is in a stratosphere I don't think he's ever been in. And you look at just the star power that's on the roster right now and how it's been elevated. I think right now that's what makes the product and even just wrestling as a whole unique. I mean, that's just my opinion. You're more than welcome to give your 2 cents on it as well. Especially now that I know you became a fan by somebody throwing an elbow drop on you on the couch. That's beautiful.
Yeah, elbow drop, sharpshooters, walls of Jericho, you name it.
Choke slam.
Yeah.
Suplex.
Batista bomb.
Yeah, buddy. Batista bomb was in the pool.
RKO was in the pool. Batista bomb was on the couch.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Yeah, what you were talking about, how these stars that we have in the industry, they're branching out to the entertainment, which is good for business. Mm-hmm. You know, you had the past superstars like Triple H, yes, Stone Cold, The Rock. He's still doing his thing on the film too.
Yes, sir.
They're branching out and making that brand of entertainment and telling people, hey, you know, I came from this wrestling background. Why don't you go and check it out? See if you like it. And if you don't like it, you can still support me doing movies and TV shows. So I think it's a good thing for everybody.
Yeah, and people want to get into it these days. Athletes want to get into it. You know, there's actors that want to be involved. Bert Kreischer's been on a couple episodes of Raw.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how he actually felt when the War Raiders started smacking him in the chest, because he got red real quick. That happened fast. He turned into a tomato real quick. Because normally he's about as pasty as Sheamus. That's all I'm saying. Like, that's real, man. But, so you're starting a show with Can You Dig Sports? What was the inspiration for you to do the show, and what do you mainly want to make it about? Is there something you want to make kind of like the main thing to talk about, or do you just want to talk about wrestling and even just sports in general?
So when we first started Can You Dig Sports, it was me and my broadcast partner. He goes by Forbes with a Z. And we started our show during the pandemic because everything was down. Everybody was bored, didn't know what to do. So I started seeing a bunch of people start their own podcasts, and I told them, hey, why don't we just start our own podcast talking about the thing we both love? Because we went to college together, actually, and we had, like, call games together. Yeah. But we actually thought of the idea of doing the podcast. So we started doing the podcast in I think the spring of 2020. And then we brought it to Can You Dig, and we named it Forbes and Red's Locker Room. Yeah. And then we also, that was mainly about sports, and we brought friends and family on to have them talk about their experience with sports and get their opinions about athletes, situations, everything. Then we started I forgot what it was called, but I think it was called the Wrestling Hour. Okay. And we invited some of our friends from college that talked about wrestling. We talked about AEW, WWE, and we all talked about events that we would go to, certain independent events, and how we would all link up and go to those events and share our reviews and thoughts.
Yeah, man. The thing was, when you started that show, AEW also was just, you know, really starting to pick up steam and get off the ground really quick. AEW started in 2019, and not long after the pandemic happened. So AEW was a new company that was, trying to put shows on with no crowd and nothing going on in their studio in Florida. So, and I remember that. So, what was talking about AEW like knowing that? That's what I'm kind of curious about.
Man, coming from them starting their humble beginnings in the beginning, they normally started out having like little events. Like they had their first pay-per-view, Double or Nothing.
Yeah.
And then they had the Fighter Fest, which was free and live on YouTube. And it was tough because you didn't know what they were coming out with every week. They were starting fresh. They didn't have no titles at all. Yeah. I think the only title that they did have was the heavyweight championship at the time.
Yeah.
And then they started branching out, making more belts and signing more people. Yep. And you just had to watch every Wednesday night to see what they were going to do. And I think those 4 guys that built that company, they did a good job. They didn't know what they were coming into. But now they're having their 300 episode.
Yeah, man.
I think
it's
this
crazy.
Wednesday.
Yeah, man. That's
and
something.
Collision's having their first 100 episode coming up as well. So they've been doing a pretty good job as of late.
I only heard it once, so I don't know if this is true, but Rampage might even be coming back.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I don't know if that's true, but
they had another show they're thinking about bringing, but I haven't heard anything about Rampage coming back.
Hey, man, I have a love-hate relationship with Rampage because a lot of great things happen on that show. And the one that sticks out in my mind, I don't know if you remember this, but do you remember when Jon Moxley fought Wheeler Yuta? That was a Rampage match.
Yeah.
And Wheeler Yuta was bleeding like a stuffed pig. He kicked out of 2 paradigm shifts, had to get choked out. And then they did this thing where he looked like he was still ready to fight, and he earned the respect of the Blackpool Combat Club, Bryan Danielson, Jon Moxley, and William Regal was in AEW at the time also.
Yep.
And I remember that was pretty much how Wheeler Yuta was made. Like that's almost to me, at least for me, the origin story kind of Wheeler Yuta, especially in AEW. Like that's where it started for this man, I feel like.
Yeah, the Wheeler Yuta come a long way. He started with Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends with Chris Statlander. Then they switched him into being serious because everybody wasn't taking him serious.
Yeah.
And when he started going against Danielson, Claudio, and Moxley, that's when they started to branch out. But speaking of Rampage, the first ever Rampage moment, like the greatest moment I ever had, was when they came to Chicago. I don't know if you remember this.
I do remember that. That was when CM Punk debuted.
Yeah,
I forgot all about that actually because he's such a staple in WWE right now.
Yeah, I was there for that, and the crowd was electric that night, and that's the first time I ever saw Sting in a while as well. So
yes,
that was a good moment for me.
So I want to describe this in the studio to our producer, Ruben, and even Ryan, if he's willing to listen to my bullshit as well. I mean, Ruben just likes it when people pay attention to him because he's ugly, but that's a whole different story for a different day.
I'm just jealous,
that's
because
that's
no one ever pays attention to him.
That's what he's
like, who are you?
That's what he says.
Even at his job.
See, he won't even let me talk now. He won't even let me talk. See, his hairstyle says Jeff Bezos in the front, Jimi Hendrix in the back, and I started hitting his ponytail like a fucking speed bag in the beginning of the show. So I don't appreciate this type of disrespect for a guy that I look at and start turning to stone. Like, I feel it in my face. Like, I start
He talks about disrespect, right?
Like, I start to lock up when I look at you, man. Also, I want to give a shout out really quick to another person in the group chat, Deborah Ellington, who comments on my shorts all the time. Fantastic lady, fan of the channel. and she explained to me that she's here from your short. So you act like I don't recognize you. I try to talk to every single person that I can, and this is one of the main people that I recognize. So I don't even know if you're still in the chat, but thank you. I appreciate you, and I appreciate all you guys. And I did want to let everybody know, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like, comment, share the shows as well. Ruben, we're getting close to 12,000 subscribers, baby.
That's right. That's what I'm talking about.
Look at that. We got another 200 something to go. Help us get to 12,000 by next episode.
So everybody is actually listening to us. Fantastic. So if you can get us to 20,000 before the summer is over, we'll be excited.
Now he's going to start talking about a bunch of numbers and boring the shit out of people. Come on, now, man.
In a galaxy far, 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 far away.
Hey, you know what? We're going to like Star Wars talk better than where you were going, man. Come on now.
All right.
Ryan, you better control your mans back there. I'm telling you. He shook his head. That's beautiful. No, but.
All right.
Yeah, man, we're rolling here. AEW, humble beginnings, like you said. Let's talk a little bit, though, about where it really started for me, and that's even before AEW was actually official. I think you know where I'm going with this. Remember that first pay-per-view, that first indie show to hit 10,000 plus fans all in, that was, marketed by Cody Rhodes, Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks, and it was really sparked by a debate. For those who don't know, Dave Meltzer said you can't get 10,000 plus people to an indie show, and that's when Cody Rhodes said what Denzel says in about half of his text messages to me, which is bet, and he decided to put an indie show with 10,000 plus people together, was able to get it backed by Tony Khan, and they had a hell of a show, and that was the beginning of AEW. I don't remember too much from the show, considering that was in 2018, right? It's been about 6-7 years now.
2018, yeah.
Yeah. But, that was where AEW started for me, and I remember when that was being put together, and I remember that was such a big deal. The only thing that I think was a bigger deal for AEW in terms of trying to scale a show was when they went over to London in a 90,000 person arena and got about 82,000 fans there. And at the time, it was the most fans ever in one show from any company, not just AEW, but companies like TNA, WWE, AEW, at least at that time, and correct me if that's changed now, had the most fans ever enter a show in one night. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, but, the two biggest nights, I think, were that first All-In pay-per-view, because it's a little bit of an origin story, and then that All-In in, I believe, 2023.
You're right.
Yeah, man. I remember when that was being built up and they were slowly getting fans to come into the arena, and it was this crazy, crazy thing that people didn't think AEW was going to be able to do. But not only did they do it, they had a decent turnout for back-to-back years.
Oh, yeah.
They've taken it back to Texas now, but...
Yeah. They tired of London. They're coming to America.
Yeah,
and
man.
The thing about that is they're trying to sell out the Global Life Stadium, which is home to the Rangers. And the card so far looks good, but the realization of it is they're trying to prove a point to everybody, like, hey, if we can do Wembley, we can do any stadium anywhere. Yeah. And that's what All In was. But last year, they did All In London, and then they had to do All Out, which to me was, wait, what they did? Did they take a break?
But here's the thing. They had a couple of episodes this time. The first year, 2023, they only had one episode, and then All Out was a week later. So they had a little bit more time to build it up. And then All Out in 2024, in fairness, actually ended up being a lot better. Because I remember the headline match that night was Adam Page and Swerve Strickland in a frighteningly violent steel cage match.
Well, yeah, I was there for. I've been to all the All Out events.
With the syringe spot and all, and there was insanity. Honestly, I don't think I have ever seen a crowd shocked to silence from a violent spot, and then there was that spot. Like, nobody even questioned why the steel cage match was stopped. Because I remember Bray Wyatt and Seth Rollins in 2019, they had that Hell in a Cell match that ended up being stopped, and everybody hated it. You know, they faded to red. You know, Seth Rollins got choked out at the end of it, and it was just a horrible, horrible Hell in a Cell match. Nobody wants to think about that. And it was a Hell in a Cell match that got stopped. Nobody questioned why a steel cage match got stopped. And I think
the red too.
Yeah, and like that's the crazy part. No one questioned it, and everybody was shocked to silence from the amount of violence that they saw in that match. And it was almost nightmarishly gruesome. And you know, the feud deserved it, and it was insanity to watch, man. And I think that's what makes the feud that they have so compelling now, because like you said, AEW started from humble beginnings. They went from one title to having a whole bunch because they tried to push so many guys, because they were able to sign so many talent that were interested, to go into a place where they kind of had to rebuild a little bit, and now they're having a little bit of a renaissance with great storylines heading up to All In, which I think it's going to pay off those storylines tenfold, which with Hangman Adam Page, you know, MJF and the Hurt Syndicate, I'm really enjoying that, and I really want to see where that goes. I don't want that to just end it all in, by the way. I want that to go for a long, long time, because I am enjoying that, and I kind of want to see Hangman Adam Page versus MJF for the world title feud. Like, I'm dying for that after All In. I got to tell you.
Yeah, that's up there. But I think MJF has somebody else to settle before he gets to that road, because he has to qualify this Wednesday for the Battle Royal. But I think there's going to be one person that gets in his way, and that's, what's his name? I think it's not Bandito, it's the other one.
It's going to be somebody he's going to unmask. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Mystico. That's his name.
Well, he already unmasked Mystico.
Yeah, but he came. I don't know if you've seen the clip or not. I think MLW had like a show this past weekend, and Mystico was there, and MJF came out of nowhere and attacked him and said business ain't done. So I think Mystico's gonna get that payback tomorrow night.
All right. You know what? I'm calling it right now. Mystico is going to rip the American flag in front of MJF. I can see it now. And people are going to get so angry online, and I'm going to eat it up. I am going to love it.
You're going to bring a lot of heat.
Because you know what? You got to invoke a reaction, man. You unmask a luchador in Mexico, you rip a flag in America.
Yeah.
Like, it just makes all the sense in the world to me, man. That's all I'm saying. You get the reactions, you draw the money. That's how it works. Whether you love somebody or you hate somebody, whether you want to see somebody win or you want to see somebody get fucked up, that's what it's about.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of being a fan. You could love somebody, you could hate somebody, but the fact of the matter is, whether you love somebody or you hate somebody, you care. All right? And I even tell people that in my comments, the ones who don't think I'm funny in my shorts, like, you know what? You still took the time to comment, bro. So thank you for being a hater. I appreciate you. But the beauty of it also is that we came on this show to talk about Night of Champions, and we haven't said one word about it. So I want to make sure we transition over to that. And there were 6 matches on the show, and the show kicked off with Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton in the 2025 King of the Ring finals. And this match had a lot of deliberate storytelling. It was a little bit of a slower paced match. Cody Rhodes targeted the back of Randy Orton, which, for anybody who doesn't know, Randy Orton was out of action for a year and a half with serious spinal issues, and we didn't even know if Randy Orton was going to be able to come back. And thankfully he is. Still says he's got another 10 years left in him. And with how much bigger this man got, I am inclined to believe him. I'm also inclined to believe if I ever meet him, with as big as he got, he might steal my lunch money and throw me in a wedgie and put me on top of a Wawa sign. I don't think he's that mean of a person, but he looks like he got big enough for that. That's all I'm saying. So, again, a more deliberately paced match. Randy Orton obviously battles back. They go back and forth. They kick out of finishers. Cody kicked out of 2 RKOs, a little unnecessary. But Randy Orton said there was going to be nothing that he wouldn't do to try and win King of the Ring. And then when it came down to it, when it was time to kick Cody Rhodes' head clean off into the next country, he wasn't able to bring himself to do it right away. And when he tried, he gave Cody Rhodes too much time to recover. And even though Randy Orton tried to cheat to win in the end, Cody Rhodes was the one who threw him into an exposed turnbuckle, hit a second crossroads, and ended up winning the match and the King of the Ring, declaring he would go after the undisputed WWE title, and whoever won the match that night in CM Punk versus John Cena, which hopefully we have enough time to get into. I thought it was a good match. I thought, considering who was in the match, the right man won. Although, personally, I would have liked to see Jey Uso versus Sami Zayn. But that's just me. You know, some people wanted to see this match. Some people wanted to see, you know, either Jey Uso or Sami Zayn in it. Some people, like myself, wanted to see both. But I think considering who was in the match, we got good storytelling, the right man won, and we planted seeds down the road for Randy Orton's eventual heel turn when Cody Rhodes talked about him after the match, and Randy Orton just looked disgusted. So, story was told, seeds were planted. I want to get some of Denzel's thoughts on what he thought about this match and if there's anything that he would like to add that he noticed.
Mm-hmm. I noticed like the same outcome with the Cody scenarios. It's always the Cody scenario.
So
Like,
you think this is like a Cody wins LOL type of scenario?
yeah, like the same old, like the man is can't be defeated, still on the win streak type stuff. Like the first things first, like I thought them having like the fatal 4 ways was good because
Right.
you never know who's gonna win. And like you said, I thought it was gonna be Sami Zayn and Jey Uso. That would have been a good match as well. But the powers that be surprised us with Randy Orton again. This is the second time in the King of the Ring finals,
And the second time he
and
lost.
second time he lost. And I thought, you know, him taking anything to do to win, I thought he was gonna win, but you know, the shove to the corner, exposed turnbuckle, crossroads, 1, 2, 3, Cody wins, and me and my friends are just like, okay, so now we're gonna see Cody versus John at SummerSlam.
But
That's it.
here's the thing, and let me ask you this: do you think that Cody Rhodes himself was also kind of planting the seeds for a heel turn down the road because he was the one who ended up not hesitating in this match? Do you think we're gonna get Homelander Cody at some point? Because I would enjoy that.
You know, it's been teased that we all want a heel Cody.
Yes, we do.
So far back in AEW, when the fans were tired of the good guy Cody act, they was like, turn heel, turn heel. Cody was like, no. And we may see that. I mean, I think for him to turn heel, it'll take another loss to Cena in a sort of a way.
I think
But
I think it's going to start with that, which by the way, I don't think John Cena is going to lose the title at SummerSlam. You know, part of me is a little bit of a believer after Saturday that they are going to eventually turn him face before he leaves for good, but I don't think it's going to be at SummerSlam. I think they're going to drag it out a little bit longer, and I believe he'll be a face for maybe the last couple of months so that we can, have a couple matches where we enjoy him and just say thank you for, everything you've done over the last 25 years. And I still think he might try to take the title home, but, basically, people want to cheer him, and they're kind of leaving the door open for that, which I think would raise a lot of questions to what people are going to do with R-Truth, what direction stories are going to go, because I think you have a lot of great story you can tell with John Cena as a heel, and I think you have a lot of great story you can tell for Cody with in the future, as a heel. I don't think it's time yet, but you can start planting the seeds. Does that make sense?
makes sense. Sure.
Yeah, buddy. So next we'll move on to the second match of the show, which was Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez in a street fight. Raquel Rodriguez lost the match even after interference, but it didn't really feel like she lost because she was throwing Rhea Ripley around like a fucking rag doll in a way that I have never seen. Threw her through just the wood of the table, put a kendo stick, a whole stick through her ribs like her name was Buddy Matthews. Like some of those kendo stick shots were just brutal, and they were right into the rib cage. Like, just watching that, you almost feel bad. But, Rhea Ripley eventually got the win through a riptide, not only off the top rope, but on a table through the top rope. And probably one of the best riptides I've ever seen her do. Don't know if we need the Roxanne Perez interference. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for Roxanne to shine, especially with the tag team titles with Raquel, especially when Liv Morgan comes back, because they're probably going to turn Liv Morgan face, I feel like. But at the same time, I don't feel like, anybody really lost here. I feel like this is a coming out party for Raquel, and we got to see how much of a force she could be in a ring, especially with somebody like Rhea Ripley. It was a fun match to watch, and I don't think the Roxanne Perez interference took away from it. Again, I don't think it was needed, but it wasn't a subtraction. And again, I thoroughly enjoyed myself, and I'm excited to see what she's going to do next, especially with the tag team match that we're going to see at Evolution.
Yeah, most definitely. The street fight was brutal. It also takes me back to when they had I think they had a last woman standing match at NXT not
Right.
too long ago, and man, that that match was brutal. The Roxanne interference, I do agree with you. That shouldn't have been necessary,
Yeah.
but I see why they would add that due to the whole Judgment Day storyline with Finn and him trying to ease Roxanne into the Judgment Day. And, since Liv out, he's trying to, you know, do what they did with Rhea when she was out, basically.
Yeah, man. For sure.
But but it's good to see Raquel getting some time besides being in the tag team scene because
Yeah.
she was out for a long time too
Yeah.
due to a skin disease. I'm certain it was.
I
And
didn't even know that was why.
yeah, that was mainly why she had a skin disease.
Wow.
And it's good to see her using that power that she was using in NXT, and
Yeah, buddy.
maybe we'll see more of that
I hope
besides
so.
tag team scene.
No, I loved watching it, and I love the fact that she got to showcase it. And I think they're going to let her showcase that at Evolution, and I'm going to be very excited for when they do because, again, I enjoyed myself, and I hope they keep doing it. Next, we had Sami Zayn against Karrion Kross, and this is one that I disagree with the result because I feel Karrion Kross should have won. You could have also had Raquel Rodriguez win, but that didn't have to be clean. But I can see why she lost. I'm a little more sad at the fact that Karrion Kross lost because I really think he could have used that win. But again, you watch him in that match, he's just beating the hell out of Sami Zayn. He gets the cross jacket in, damn near chokes him out, has him fading a couple times in the same hold. He just barely gets to the ropes after several minutes. And I knew the results of the match, and watching that cross jacket, I was still kind of on the edge of my seat a little bit. Like, you know the result, like you heard about it somewhere, and you're like, wait, shit, was somebody telling me the wrong thing? And it's like in the back of your head. And you know you have a good spot when something like that happens. But this has been building up for months. Karrion Kross is trying to paint Sami Zayn as a bad guy, which I think for most people, you kind of want him to get inside of your head a little bit. And I kind of do want that with Sami at some point still, to some extent. But I think Sami Zayn is one of the few people who is a genuinely believable good person. And, you know, it's somebody that you take at face value and you want to see him win because of that. And I think there's so few guys that are like that. I think Daniel Bryan was another one. He was a very believable babyface. I almost think Daniel Bryan, and this might be a little bit of a controversial take, is better as a face than he is as a heel. And people are going to have their opinions about that. He can do either one, but that's just my opinion on that. Also, shout out to Lil Sham. What's up with you? I'm doing very well. I appreciate you commenting on the show. But, you know, I wanted to see Karrion Kross win. Yes, he looked good in defeat. Yes, he had a great angle with Sami Zayn on Raw. But at the same time, I feel like this is a match Karrion Kross should have won.
Most definitely, I feel like Karrion Kross should have won because Kross hasn't been getting no airtime since his little post interview with him and Scarlett. And he's been throwing these vignettes at, Sammy, trying to get in his head. He already got it through to the New Day. So why not try against Sami Zayn?
Yeah.
And Sammy is a believable babyface. I agree with you on that. He's more of a babyface than the heel. We've seen his heel run
Yes.
with Kevin Owens, and it wasn't.
He was a good heel. I'm not saying he wasn't.
I feel like him and Kevin Owens was good as heels, but I feel like at the same time, him as a heel by himself, it wasn't carrying as much weight.
I think Sami Zayn made the best out of a bad situation at that time. Like the conspiracy theorist thing, I think was a stupid idea that he kind of sold and made better than it should have been. I think his feud with Johnny Knoxville was much better than it should have been. And the WrestleMania match they had was just so out there and so zany. The fact that I get to see somebody get pinned with a giant mouse trap and I don't hate it. I'm trying not to laugh as I say it because it sounds so ridiculous. Just as WrestleMania 38 was. There was the most zany thing I've ever seen in my life. It was the biggest acid trip, I think, in all of pro wrestling. And I stand by that. But he made a lot of things better than they should have been. And putting him in the bloodline ended up being pure genius after that. And that was the last place you would have expected him to be able to go. And he just sold his role to high heaven and made people care about him in a way that probably they haven't cared about him since 2015 in NXT. They probably care about him even more now. So I think, some things happen for a reason. I think the story of Sami Zayn happened for a reason, and I think what we got from Sami Zayn during his heel run, I think was able to allow him to circle back into being the person that we kind of grew to love in NXT.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy. So, on to the next one. Let me just pull that up here really quick. Solo Sikoa versus Jacob Fatu for the U.S. title. And we got a couple of surprises in this one. We expected a JC Mateo interference because that's who's backing Solo Sikoa. But we also got a returning Tonga Loa who has been talked about as, at least before, as the biggest botch king since Sin Cara. We have about 5 minutes, so this is probably going to be the last match that we talk about. But he returned, and we also got the debut of Hikuleo, who I think is going to have a different name because they did not refer to him as that in the show. But they both interfered in the match, as well as JC Mateo. And Jacob Fatu almost soloed all four of them. He's repping more solo than Solo Sikoa, who has a whole faction behind him. I'm just saying, that's a hell of a name to have when you got all those people behind you and the person that you're fighting is going by himself. So let's just bring that up as is. But I feel like Solo Sikoa has gotten a little bit of his aura back now that he's got goons behind him. He's the one with the master plan in his faction. And I think having that U.S. title is going to do wonders for him. Now, what I hope they do with Jacob for a little bit, I want them to put him in the world title scene for a little bit. Because everybody has been involved in this John Cena retirement tour, whether it's been run-ins, interferences, shenanigans. Like, that was the main event, just really quick, is probably the most chaotic match we've seen since Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa on Netflix, with all the run-ins that happened. And WWE does a great job of it, so when you have a chance to lean into it, you absolutely should. But at the same time, why not involve Jacob Fatu in it? This is the only chance we're going to get, even if we just get a TV match like we did with John Cena and R-Truth, who I think should take the title off of John Cena, and I stand by it. Take care of Aleister Black and then come back, R-Truth. We will be waiting for you. I want R-Truth as our champion. But that being said, have him go into the world title scene for a little bit, even if he just gets a TV match. Have Solo cost him, and then have Solo get his comeuppance at SummerSlam or some point down the line. Even if he has to work through a couple of members of the new bloodline, have them look strong in some wins, especially because I didn't realize Hikuleo was as tall as he was. That man is a monster. Jesus. But that's where I think they should go with it next. Feel free to give me your thoughts before we close out with some comments and we head out.
Yeah, my thoughts on that match, it was a swerve. Because to me, I didn't see Hikuleo coming.
I didn't see that coming that night, for sure.
Did not see him coming. And I think his name is going to be Tongale.
Tongale?
So, yeah, Tongale.
All right.
And now it's just going to be the beginning of, Solo has the United States Championship. Is this the Bloodline 3.0? And now it's just like, is Jacob going to get his revenge, like ASAP? And who's going to help him out? We already got Big Jim that only helped him out once. So are they going to bring, Jimmy into the fold? Are they going to bring another person to help Jacob and Big Jim? There's going to be so much stuff going on with that storyline right now.
Man.
And that's going to be chaotic as it is. Because now you're going to have Jacob, Jimmy, Jay, and whoever else is going to help them versus the other bloodline. So it should be interesting.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for it myself. Last thing before I end the show, and we got a little bit of time because our producer just went to use the restroom. Do you see them doing kind of an even bigger bloodline match than they did over the past year? Because they already did new bloodline versus the OG bloodline. Now you got all these members, and it kind of makes me feel like they're building up to it again a little bit.
Oh yeah, definitely. With the addition of Hikuleu, and then Tama might come back too. That's gonna be big. And that's just gonna be the perhaps of the other side because Roman says he's done with that. So Roman is done with that. So you're gonna have nothing but Jimmy, Jay, possibly Jacob, and you got Jacob. And I heard Lance Whitey is still around, and then you might bring somebody else into the fold. I heard
Sammy?
Zilla's. hmm,
Sammy?
Probably. But then Sammy has his own problems with Seth Rollins and, carrying Cross. It's too much going on. But
But at the same time, we have time though, cause
or maybe Cody.
I'm thinking they're gonna put the title on Sammy at Mania, right? So you have a little bit of time. That WrestleMania is still about 9, 10 months away. It's 9.5 really. So you have time to put Sammy in the title picture for a bit after, a couple more matches with Karrion probably, where Karrion can kind of get put over and put on the map essentially, and then go into his next thing. And then, Sammy can enter this at some point, probably around Survivor Series when they do War Games. And he still has time to go on to the Royal Rumble and go back to the Seth Rollins stuff after that. So it's not like we don't have time in between. Yes, there's a lot going on, but we have time to flesh out this story before we get to Mania 42. That's all I'm saying.
I got a quick question for you.
What's
Now,
up?
I know Cena has not that much time left.
Yeah,
And I know, that last date is in December.
right.
So that's getting close to when the Royal Rumble is supposed to head back to Saudi Arabia. Do you think the championship can be on the line like it was a couple Rumbles ago?
At the Royal Rumble,
Yeah.
I think that's a thought. I don't think that's actually going to happen. I think they'll probably have a tournament and they might end it at the Rumble. That would be my guess. I think they'll do it like the way they did it when Seth Rollins got injured in 2015. That would be what I think. I don't actually know that for sure because anything can really happen, but at the same time, that's the way I kind of see it playing out. You have like an 8 or a 16-man sort of thing that you have go throughout the next several weeks leading up to it, and maybe you can even do it leading up to the pay-per-view before Mania, Elimination Chamber. And that way you can really create a lot of time for these matches, and you can make it, worth fighting for. Because I feel like with the reigns that, we've had over the last, 5 or so years, maybe even 6, which there's only been 3 of them. I feel like the WWE title is still the most important title. And I feel like that's a way to continue to make people care.
Yeah, it's still the most prestigious time.
Yeah, buddy. So I do want to let you know I 100% appreciate you coming on the show, giving your takes on the matches we talked about, getting to be able to talk about AEW. And I would definitely love to have you back on at some point and collab with you when we bring back Bring Boy Sports, or we bring it back by another name as well. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate being able to talk with wrestling about somebody, man. That's always a good time for me. So thank you so much for being here. And again, I would love to have you back.
Thank you, John. Appreciate you for having me on the show.
Appreciate
Maybe I can get you on my show as well.
Yeah, buddy. All right, guys, make sure you guys like, comment, share, and subscribe. Remember, we are close to 12,000 subscribers. Let me give a couple more shout-outs real quick to Ariel Samuel. What up to you, bro? Yes, he's saying, bro, I had never seen John Cena. I never have either. I understand your struggle. And Emily saying, ayo, look who it is, John. Ayo! And then, okay, hear me out. What if Orange and John Cena end up being a tag team, literally doing one of what if they tag team? That'd be a crazy tag team. I'd feel like I'd be in the Matrix. I don't know where we're getting the tag team idea for John Cena and Orange Cassidy. Listen, if you're going to put two people together, make it Orange Cassidy and Matt Riddle. And if you're going to put somebody from John Cena's era, do it with Randy Orton, because we've already seen that can work. Like, bro. That's all I'm saying. But, again, shout out to you guys for supporting the channel. I appreciate all of you. Again, make sure you guys like, comment, share, and subscribe, and help us get to 12K. We will be back next week. We'll see you soon. Deuces.